Hello and welcome to another episode of 12 Reason Why. And I have with me Andre, and Andre is joining us from Lisbon. Andre is a developer, Microsoft certified trainer, and he does loads of talks around different stuff. Andre, very much welcome to the show. And you want to introduce yourself? That's a short one I gave.
So I usually introduce myself as a human being. I think that's the easiest option. And ironically enough, that's kind of important to declare yourself as a human being in the present time because, half of us that we see online are actually not human. Okay.
Yeah.
Skynet is taking over, so it's going to be a problem.
So,
Okay.
Andre,
Let me mention this before I forget, because I started by talking about myself. But thank you very much for having me here. It's really nice to be here, and especially I haven't seen you for a year since the last time I was in Ireland, in Dublin. So that was a very nice, amazing Global Azure event that I was able to attend at Microsoft. So happy to talk to you again and to have this session now. So you have questions. I probably don't have answers. Just ask.
lovely, lovely. No, definitely. And I remember a year back you were talking all about AI, and I believe you are one of those people who talked about AI while it was not cool, and you're doing it basically from long, long time. So I'll not say from the dinosaur ages, but still, you have been talking about AI stuff, and so I would like to understand like how the landscape changed and how it did. Like last year, we were just talking about okay, hacking vision, hacking speech kind of things, and suddenly there is a boom, and everyone is talking about like I used to go to customers talking about, oh, there is cognitive services and things like that, right? And they used to say, oh, just take it away. I don't want that. Now, what changed that everyone is looking at the AI?
Okay, that is actually a very difficult question, because if you ask me that question tomorrow, I'm going to get you a different answer from today. Every day, this thing is changing, and let me just suggest, advance an unwanted advice that people really don't want me to give, but I have to say it because it's pretty much what actually people need to hear, which is it doesn't really matter how much the technology will evolve. We will never keep up with everything. It's impossible. It's not 25 years ago. 25 years ago, you would get one of those MSDN CDs from Microsoft that were really, really old. And you could say, oh, I got the new one. Great. Let's have a look. Whenever it came out in the actual mail, so physically as a box. And then you would go there, have a look at everything that's new. You would learn from it. And you thought, okay, I know these things. Now I can use them. And you were pretty confident that you learned most of the things. This has changed over the years. So, this was 25 years ago, 20 years ago. Now people stopped having that. Everything is online. First, all the documentation is online, which is crazy because you can never keep up with the changes. And that's the same with learn.microsoft.com. You can never keep up with the changes, even though you do try. Um, but then you continue to things like, okay, but I know .NET. Oh, there's a new .NET version, and then a new .NET version, and then there's .NET, there's C Sharp, there's Visual Basic, there's something sharp, I don't know, whatever. There's even Q Sharp for Quantum as well,
F
although
sharp, Q sharp. I don't know. I mean, how many sharps came in?
so there's so much, and it's very difficult to keep up. So the correct answer is, don't worry about it. You're not going to be able to keep up with everything. Just focus on the stuff that you like. Okay. And now going to the exact part of your question, which is about AI. So how do you keep up with AI? 10 years ago, we would get most people to start thinking about AI. Everyone would say, yeah, we do machine learning. They didn't say AI, they did, we do machine learning. And suddenly, okay, what kind of machine learning do you do? Oh, we do things. And actually, nobody did anything. Okay, this was just a marketing gimmick. We use AI for this. In fact, many people actually prefer not to say that they used AI. One of these examples is YouTube, because obviously they used machine learning to give you suggestions for videos and things. They didn't say that because it could feel like it's Big Brother or something. Well, things shifted maybe 3 years ago, and everyone now wants to declare that they use AI. So it's no longer a privacy issue. It's now, oh no, we use it. It's good. Please come with us. And for a while, people are like, oh, we all have to use AI. You probably saw on phones like Android phones that you now have, extra features. Even my current phone, one of them anyway, which is like 5 years old, actually six by now in 1 or 2 months. It's actually getting upgrades with AI stuff. But I do have to agree with that AI, so I'm not, because it's still Google, it's still evil, so definitely not. But the thing is, people are now, oh, we know what AI is, and suddenly AI is just the chatbots, the chat GPT, the co-pilot, whatever it is. This is all they know. Okay, and this is
Mhm.
not what AI is all about. In fact, quite the contrary. This is a lazy, shortcut for us to find answers for things. It's useful. I'm not saying that, it's
Mhm.
still useful, but it's not the main usage that we should be using for our companies. What we should be using for our companies is things like machine learning, so that you take your data, you crush your data, you use your data in some crazy training way so that you come up with some, drops of wisdom that will make you, I don't know, some money, help out your clients, get people happy, pretty much, right? And that is the part that people started to forget from the last 3 years, and that is the part that we need again. So this is not changing that much, but this will stabilize, and people are like, okay, I've done all I could with chatting. What do I do next? And then at some point in time, they'll figure out, oh, we need to actually monetize this. We need to make money out of this. So it's probably going to be going back to the roots of machine learning and actually start to use it for something useful, or not. We don't know.
It's more of a, you can say, these generative AIs likes of Chat GPT, Gemini coming in. It has more taken us to the lazy road instead of us looking at our data. We are just more relying on, oh, we will do a chatbot that will read the files and give us an answer. That's all, right?
Takes two
That's,
minutes. It takes 2 minutes for you to create a chatbot and say what you want. You can go to Power Virtual Agents and say, please give me a bot that does this.
Mhm.
Oh, where's the information for that? Oh, just go to this website. It's our website or something. You deal with it and then just give it some rules. It takes 5 minutes, and then say deploy. And then suddenly everything is done. And in some situations, it can even be either free or incredibly cheap. So that is completely crazy, and this is not something that we would be able to do with things like Azure bots or Azure web app bots that used to exist before, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. You would have to get a proper developer to do that kind of work at the time. Nowadays, it's just automatic. But yeah, I'm doing too many serious answers at this moment. We need to do some jokes, otherwise people might not believe it's me and might think that this is an AI generated thing providing correct answers, and that's
Oh,
that's
we will ask you to prove you're not a robot after this.
prove you're not a robot. Get all the answers wrong, because now the robots get all the answers right. So you can only prove it if you get some of them wrong.
Yeah. So
Uh,
this AI thing, and first thing is that this one thing that I get a lot of customers asking me, and within a lot of conversations, I get this, right. So automation and AI, how do you distinguish between that? So automation, there is a lot of use cases that you can just simply you just put in 5 processes, that's the done. So how
so
do you distinguish that?
So it depends on the type of automation. There's a lot of different things that we can consider for automation. This can be something as simple as using things like Power Automate. Every time you receive an email, reply with something.
Hmm.
Oh, it's an email from my boss. Let's use AI to say, yes, boss, I'm on top of it. Everything is going okay, no problem. And if the email feels a bit wrong, at the same time, you drift, that flow and say, also warn me that the email is threatening. So we need to get on top of this while I'm currently at the beach enjoying myself, and I get the alerts. And yes, lately I've been using quite a lot of these to answer some messages like in 30 seconds in some cases, but not using AI, using myself, because some things are incredibly strange and need very, very quick answers. But there's also other automation processes. So of course you can do Power Automate, but on your own desktop, which is a thing. But there's also other technologies which aren't even new, such as IoT and stuff like that, that you can automate a house, for instance. So you can take a house. This is again not new.
Mhm.
It's not even from now. It's not even from 10 years ago. There was something called Azure IoT, which has been around for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, almost something like that. It's very stable. It works really well. It's incredibly cheap. It's worth it. But you can deploy everything that you want. And including using more recent AI things such as generative AI, etc. And it does whatever you need it to do. Okay, but this is something that the more you create these kind of things, the more risk you also have. So you have positive things that, as you mentioned, actually help us out with, I don't know, with fixing our problems, doing whatever it is. But they also create problems for us, like security. Do I feel safe leaving going on holiday for maybe 2 weeks, which hasn't happened in like 30 years, but okay. But going somewhere for 2 weeks and leaving my house alone with domotics all over my house controlling things. And I have no idea if I come back to a house or if the house becomes a transformer and starts to take over the world, like Megatron and stuff like that. I have absolutely no idea. So, ironically enough, many of the people who do develop these kind of things, like me, and I mean, not just generative AI and AI in general, but also IoT and a few other things, sometimes at home they just have very normal light switches that you just have to physically be there to press them, because you
Yeah.
just don't trust it. Okay, so depending on the case, my car is also incredibly old. It's over 20 years old, and it doesn't have anything that advanced. I could put it there, it would be fun, but it's just that I just want something reliable, something that works, and it doesn't have to be that advanced. It gets me from A to B. That's the point of a car. If you But by the way, let me just say this: if you do add generative AI to a car, make sure the voice is the Knight Rider kit's voice. Okay, that would be fun. But apart from that, you really don't need it. Okay. Okay, let's start with better answers that are more humorous instead of serious.
No,
Maybe
no, no. My next question is definitely around that. So there is loads of talks around responsible AI and AI going rogue. Recently, we saw that. What was the name of that AI that deleted the company's database? I'm missing the name, but
it was 2 weeks ago. I forgot the name as well, and this is probably a name that you will either never remember again, or you will never forget. It's one of those things.
definitely no. I think it's going to be the latter part of it, because yeah, because that was bizarre when it went rogue, and even I heard it lied about it. So basically, it said no, I did not do it. There was no change freeze. So how
Very
do
good
we like?
one. Okay,
So
it
this
wasn't me.
concept
I'm
of this
sorry.
responsible AI thing, right? So what exactly, like from the ethical AI and responsible AI perspective? I think I know it's one of your favorite topics as well to talk about.
Okay, so let's talk about responsible AI for a bit. Microsoft has kind of some pillars which divide this into 6 different categories. In different countries, different technologies, sometimes they use a different amount. So let's go one by one according to the list. I just on my computer here to not forget the list by order. And you have things like fairness. Okay, so fairness is incredibly simple. Imagine that you are asking for a bank loan to the bank, and you have to provide some information like your age, your how much you make, if you have any kids, if you got married, if you, I don't know, whatever. So if more than one person puts in information that's fairly similar, you might get a similar answer because that would be fair. But let's imagine that two people submit two things, and the values is, let's say the threshold is about 50% for yes or no, and one of them gets 49, the other one gets 51%. So one of them, oh great, I got the bank loan, I can buy the house, be happy for the rest of my life, whatever. And the other
Mhm.
person, oh sorry, you don't get the bank loan. And traditionally, if you don't get a bank loan, let's say for a house, if you don't get it the first time, the chances that you will ever get it in the future, and that your life will be normal for that point of on in the future, is actually incredibly low.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a make or break point for someone's life, and you have to be as fair as possible. So how do you handle this? Well, the two of them, you should actually get a human to do it. Okay, so you get a human to go there, talk to the two of them, and look at the first one with a 51%, and the guy's all shifty. Yeah, I have mustache. Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, my cousin Vinny, whatever. And the guy may be, I don't know, a mobster or something like that, and you're like, oh, I don't trust this guy. So AI says 51%, but this guy feels like he's not going to pay me back. And then you have the 49% guy, and the guy's like, oh, I want to pay the whole thing, I want to be correct about it, etc. So from a human point of view, you get a completely different opinion than the AI. The AI is trying to be fair as well and give you a number, let's say a percentage in this case, but as a human, you can analyze some emotions that, yes, now AI can also examine those emotions. But you as a human, you'll always have that, sixth sense that will tell you, yeah, this, I don't trust this guy. So you might decide for a yes or a no, override the yes or no that the computer decided. So that's giving it some tolerance margin, let's say 10% each way, let's say 40% to 60%, and
Mhm.
say, look, let's examine this because it's someone's life at stake. Let's examine this. So fairness is all about that, making sure that even if the result feels slightly different, don't just trust the machine, trusts the human. Let's put it like this. We have a few others that are simpler to explain. Reliability and safety, that's easy. Okay, you want to make sure that a car is not going to run over someone else, which has happened. So you want to make sure that the car has all the safeguards to actually stop. I can imagine, for instance, maybe a year ago, a bit more, I went to San Francisco and I saw some taxis that were self-driving.
Yeah.
And what most people did was they just got in front of them, which is not very intelligent for people, but okay. But the taxis actually stopped, so they were behaving correctly.
Mhm.
I can tell you that if those taxis run over a person, that's justified. They deserve it. But okay. But apart from
No, I
I've
don't
just
blame you.
but I have done that with one of those robots that take food in restaurants that look like a cat and you can pet the ears. Those
Yeah.
are fun. And I play around with all of them, but I don't do that with a car. Don't do that with a car. Anyway, reliability is important, but then you have the third pillar, which is privacy and security. Don't get hacked. Make sure information doesn't get leaked. And especially if you do get hacked, make sure that that hacking does not allow you to, move the car and actually kill someone. So that's, these two are close together. The fifth one is transparency. Fourth one is transparency, which is if something happens and machines decide on something like the bank loan, they need to justify why. Why did they give so high marks on this person and low marks on that person? And then you have to decide, oh, this person is 80 years old. This person is 25. This person is, reproduced themselves 20 times. I don't know, whatever the reason is. Okay. You have to provide the information. This is getting things like explainers, the technical term explainers or interpreters, so that you can tell the information about this. There's also inclusiveness, and this is one of my favorites. So inclusiveness is the fact that when all of this technology should be used in an inclusive manner. What does that even mean? If you have someone with a disability and this happens more than we think. So you have glasses, you have, technically that's a disability. Okay, I still don't have them, but sooner or later, probably, yes, I don't know. probably. But everyone getting old will become disabled in somehow. Oh, I hurt my back. Oh, I have difficulty moving or something. So whatever it is, if you are 20 years old, you are perfect. If you are 80 years old, you have a lot of problems that technically are disabilities. Old age is by definition a disability. It's decreasing the capacity of your body to some extent. So having glasses, not being able to hear, and other things,
You
whatever
feel
they
like
are.
80 years old now, Andy? you, you just ticked off all the boxes and said, hey, if you're 80 years old,
Well, you still have more hair than I do, but apart from that, okay. But hair is not a disability.
I'll not show the growing hairline. I try to cover it good.
But anyway, the point is, we can use AI, we can use machine learning, we can use AI for all of this. There's quite a lot of examples for this. So if you are using technology, Microsoft technology such as Microsoft Teams, you have subtitles. Sometimes, even if you have good hearing, sometimes some people speak in such a weird way in different countries, in different languages,
Mhm.
okay, and they're not native English speakers, so suddenly they speak in a very strange way, and you cannot understand it. AI will actually understand it better. So having the subtitles is not, it's not shameful. It's like, I just don't understand what this guy says. Let's get AI or a transcript on AI to tell me exactly what this guy is saying, so
Mhm.
it doesn't look bad. Okay, so I don't ask, can you please repeat? Can you please repeat? And after a while, the guy is probably saying, yeah, you really don't understand my accent, do you? So you want to avoid that in a business world. So that is important. Other things which are equally important are things like, if you are unable to see, or if you are able to see with difficulty, and that there's a whole range of issues regarding vision. So starting from no vision at all to only having one single eye of vision, which means you cannot focus things, or you cannot see certain colors, or you see blurry things. There's a whole ton of situations that can happen. Okay, I've actually had a situation, maybe it's about 5 years ago, that I woke up in the heat of Portugal, something like that, and suddenly all my eyes were completely red. And I had no idea, so I thought, oh, well, after a while, after, I don't know, a day or so putting water into them, they were still red. So I decided to go to the pharmacy and say, dude, do you have something for me to put in my eyes, because that, they're all red. And they said, you need to go to the hospital immediately. Okay. So I went to the hospital. They gave me a lot of drops for the eyes, whatever. And I spent something like a month with a lot of difficulty actually having vision. Everything was blurry, etc. So for me, this was a warning. They actually told me, look, as long as you put all the drops, etc., you'll get like 90% of your vision back. Okay, so I still don't have glasses, which I really appreciate, but I do admit that sometimes in certain circumstances, let's not go into detail, I still have some difficulty seeing things compared to what I was able to do 5 years ago. What happened is that I wasn't as worried as most people would be, because they would say, oh, you cannot see anything. I was literally all blurry. And they were just saying something like, okay, if this goes wrong, you're going to lose your sight because it's all, red and whatever. This actually happened to me 2 or 3 times, so I had to go to the hospital 2 or 3 times. But the thing is, why wasn't I so worried that most people would be if they lose sight? Because I know technology and I know people who use technology, AI particularly. So let
Mhm.
me give you a few examples. I have a friend who is actually from here, from Portugal. He is blind and he's worked in IT for over 25 years. So he does command line stuff.
No.
There's technology that does this even before a lot of the AI things that we know these days. And he was able to do it. So, it's not pleasant. I would have to get a nice dog, and honestly, I'm a cat person, so maybe I'll get a guide cat or something like that, which doesn't really work, as we all know. But alternatively, there's new technologies that have been around lately in Microsoft world. One of them is called Seeing AI. Seeing as in the sense of seeing AI apps. SEE ing, so seeing AI app, which is actually available nowadays for Android and for iOS. And you can actually use that app if you are blind or with difficulty in terms of vision, and you can point it at the menu, and that will tell you, the menu highlights, look, this is meat, this is fish, what do you want me to tell you more? And then you point at the meat and say, show me the meat, and here's the list, etc. Okay, so this is what I want to eat. And it can point to people and say, this is 10 people, these two are happy, these two are incredibly upset with you for some reason, I don't know, whatever it is. Okay, so you have the technology that will help you with this. That is the inclusiveness part of the technology. There is much more, but of course the interview is limited in terms of time. So I just want to mention that this is possible. So go to that Seeing AI app. If you know someone who is actually blind or close to it, suggest that Seeing AI app. But at the same time, use all of the other technologies. Things like, if you go to Windows, I think it's Control. Let me check. Control Windows L. Is it? Yeah, Control Windows L in the English version, which allow you to use subtitles. Okay, that can even be subtitles from webcasts like the one we're doing now. If for some reason YouTube or whatever doesn't have subtitles, you can add them in Windows 11, which is good. A lot of bad things with Windows 11, terrible stuff, but this stuff is good. The inclusiveness stuff is actually very good. All the accessibility is very good. So there is obviously much more to this. Okay, there's mechanical helpers, etc., but these are not typical, Microsoft technologies. These are third parties, but all of these can help you. So if you go on AI and use it for inclusiveness, that's a great idea. There was one last one, okay, and as I mentioned, I have to end with a joke or something like that. This was, of course, serious. It's a subject I care greatly about. So now the joke. We have the last one, which is accountability. And the accountability pillar is complicated because that is the one that says you do something wrong, you go to jail, okay, which is incredibly fun. This is where you get your nice friend, the lawyer, okay, which you don't call him for anything else other than you are close to going to jail, and you say, look, I want to get a car to drive on the roads. What kind of paperwork do I need? Okay, and you just you just ask them, look, fill in this 3,000 page form, whatever. You fill in all the information, then you say, I've taken all the reasonable measures in terms of safety so that the
Mhm.
car can drive on the roads. If that crashes into someone, at least I tried. Okay, is that enough to get you out of jail? Maybe. In some cases, yes, but at least it's not directly going to jail without passing go or whatever it is. Okay, at least it gets you a free, no, a reasonable chance at a trial that allows you not to go to jail. Maybe just pay some settlement, some insurance, whatever it is. So that part, the accountability part, is get a lawyer and they will handle things. Tell them what you are planning on doing and follow the advice. Make sure of course that it doesn't harm or kill someone, because this is of course something that will be incredibly bad for everyone, especially if I'm on the side of the person getting hit by the car. um so
Yeah,
yeah.
because there is going to be people jumping in front of it, definitely, for
Yeah,
fun.
you've seen those videos of them. I'm not sure if it's Amazon or something, the delivery robots, like the
Oh
small
yeah, I have seen
boxes
that.
going around, and then people preventing it from going. It doesn't feel like a good idea to use those kind of robots. They're not very threatening, are they?
No, not at all. I saw a video other day, and one of those was stuck into a ditch, and some guy went in and helped it and said thank you, and it went it like that. So it's such a quick, cute kind of creature.
So
People are playing
uh,
with
I
it.
would I would say that there are a lot of there's a lot of different ways we can use technology. This is actually a good point. So, is that a good idea to use those robots in a real world environment? It's clearly not. There's well-intentioned people that will just pet the robot and say, "Go on your way, deliver your package, fulfill your destiny, whatever." Right? But there's also people who will say, "I'll take the package, thank you very much," and then beat up the robot. There was a robot, I completely forgot the name, that someone that out across the United States and Canada, and it went through many kilometers, like 1,000 kilometers drive, that people would help and they would say, "Oh, I need to continue my trip to go from here to someone." So that was the information that the robot would provide to people. And, "Oh, please charge me, give me electricity." And people let the robots travel for like 1,000 kilometers. I forgot the name of it. It was a few years ago, but it feels like there is some decency in the world. So Canada is a
Mhm.
nice place that will help. As soon as it crosses the border to the United States, yeah, it's going to get beat up. It's going to get deported. It's going to be into alligator Alcatraz or something, and it gets deported immediately to some Salvadorian prison where, I don't know, something. So yeah, be very careful. Uh, so even if you are a robot, you're not immune from ice.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's bad. So yeah, we joke about this, but we shouldn't actually joke because there's human rights being violated in this situation. Anyway, having said that, there's a lot of other situations where AI makes sense and AI doesn't make sense, right? So if you consider the drones from Amazon that say, "Oh, we'll deliver your package," that seems okay if they're not too heavy. But
Mhm.
have you considered the alternative to the small robots traveling with that? Why don't you just get a Doberman or a Rottweiler and just have the dog carry it in the mouth and say, "Here, I'm delivering this." They will never be intercepted.
Not at
They
all.
don't need electricity, and they know the way home. So,
Oh,
why not? Why keep it complicated? Okay,
that will come under animal cruelty.
even my cat would take a ball and fetch the ball and bring the ball to me. Come on, seriously. We can do that with dogs. We don't need robots. But yeah, there's a lot of situations where AI can actually make us better. Okay, we just have to pick and choose which ones make sense. There was a phrase from someone. I think that person was from Poland, or at least had a Polish name, that said something. This was a few years ago already. "I don't want AI to do the poetry for me and create art for me. I want them to clean my house, vacuum my house, or whatever, so that
Yeah.
I have some free time to do the art myself." Okay, this is not the correct quote, but it's something similar to this, and this is correct. Please provide me a proper robot that will clean my house. That's what I want. It doesn't really work that way. Okay, and at this moment, I don't have a cat, and my cat lived for about 17 years, which was amazing. She had some issues and disabilities as well, but she was amazing. The worst part that my cat had was too much hair, and I discovered that with all the hair, I cannot get one of those Roomba robots. Okay, because it's just too much hair, and the
Yeah.
Roomba robot would feel like you with your beard, like you get a Roomba with a huge beard going around because it just acquired all the beard from my cats. So I cannot get one of those. Okay, it just doesn't work. But yeah. So anyway, I think this was probably the longest answer to any question that you ever got on this show.
No, that's totally all right. That's totally all right. And just on the back of that, right? So we hear a lot about agents, these AI agents. So what exactly is the agent basically? And can it send Andy for a 2 weeks holiday?
So
Like, can you
currently,
do
the
something?
agents are wearing masks. They don't identify themselves, and in most of the cases, they're not real agents. Oh, wait, we're talking about a completely different thing. Here I go talking about politics again. So let's get serious with agents. So first of all, let's give it some names because these names have changed. If you go for Azure AI Studio or Azure Open AI Studio, even before that, they had a name called Assistants. So the OpenAI world calls it Assistants. Microsoft calls it Agents. Okay, there's a slight distinction between what an agent is, what a copilot is,
Hmm.
because a copilot is a tool that will help you do certain things. An agent pretty much does the same thing, but there is a slightly different concept here. Think about the agent as not entirely 100% true, but think about the agent as a box. It's like, think of it as a web service that you say, does certain purpose. Okay, it's not a final end to something, like, oh, I have a chat site, right? I go to the site, I have some chat bots over there on that site, and that's my agent. Well, yes, that is true, but in many cases you can have that mixed with the website and just call some LLM model, which is fine. Okay, but then you only have two tiers here. So you have the LLM itself and you have the website itself. The idea here is to have an extra layer, okay, like a separate box, a programming middle tier, whatever you want to call it, that talks to the LLMs, so still separate from the LLMs, which means that you can use things like OpenAI, you can use Mistral, which is nice open source, you can use Llama, I think you all know what a llama is. So you have the camels, which have two humps.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you have the dromedaries, only one hump. Actually, the most common type of camel in the world is actually a dromedary. And then you have the llamas, which are flats. So these are the ones in South America and things like that. You also have the alpacas, okay, and these are close cousins that live, in the next country.
yeah,
These are very nice. They all have one thing in common, which is if you look at them, they spit on you. Okay,
yeah.
and that is actually the reaction that I get every time I use llama. Okay, so and now that is actually the reaction I get every time I use Grok as well. So Grok is incredibly fast, but the answers are incredibly wrong. So not a big fan of either one, and that's
At least
because
it
they
was right sometime. It was right sometime when it went rogue.
Yes, actually, but there are two parts to this. So with Grok, there are two parts to this. There was the LLM itself, so the internals of it that actually learn things and give you a result, and there is the instructions that Grok uses to present itself on Twitter. So the instructions are the most fascist possible with Elon Musk and things like that. So these are incredibly wrong and biased because the instructions tell you that everything is wrong. The irony is that the learning was much better, which sometimes contradicts what Elon Musk is trying to do, which is incredibly nice and it's very much karma, right? So I still don't like either one because they come from learning in general, but they also focus on a lot of learning coming from social networks like Twitter, like, the social network formerly known as Twitter. We have to say the full name, which no one actually wants to use the letter because I really used to like that letter. Okay, but nowadays I don't. But then again, X is the name that you give to the really bad social networks. It's also the name you give to your ex girlfriends, ex boyfriends, whatever. So, maybe we should consider retiring the letter altogether and starting to use Y or something. I don't know. Whatever. Just a stupid comment. But the idea here is that these LLMs learn from this, and this is wrong. And yes, this is a side note. I'll get back to the agents, but I think this is good to talk about. Uh, so, one of the things that we've been seeing is that if you learn from social networks, you're going to pick up what the social networks are telling you. Okay. Can you imagine there's a social network called Truth Social or whatever that's called that only has supporters? It's like the worst sewage that you can actually find everywhere in humanity. But if you learn from there, you're going to be incredibly racist, incredibly,
Hmm.
xenophobe, whatever it is, Nazi, whatever bad things it is. If you learn from Facebook, if you learn from Twitter, most of it in the last 5 years was on average worse than good. Okay, so it was mostly negative, not mostly positive. And I'm not even going into specifics of what positive and negative is. The thing is, if you learn from that, things are going to go wrong. I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when you reported something wrong on Facebook, you would get an answer within a few hours and sometimes within a few minutes. And they would say, you are right. This is not correct. We're bringing down this fake profile or something like that. It worked really, really well. I had a few situations like that, impersonating me, whatever, etc. It worked like a charm. Perfect. No problem. And when I mean me, I mean a lot of different people. It always worked. It was great. And then they automated some of this process. They outsourced some of this to low income, staff okay, a bit all over the world. But let's focus just on the United States alone. If you want to get people who are from the United States that want to evaluate if something is correct or not, where's the cheapest options? In the middle of the country, literally geographically in the middle, where most of them are right wing or extreme right wing, and they
Hmm.
voted for Trump, right?
Hmm.
So that is a bias that's artificial intelligence. If artificial intelligence learns from the answers that humans gave and tries to replicate the behavior of fixing, reports on Facebook, and canceling profiles if they're fake, etc., if the people actually believe it, they will say this is okay and bring down things that are reasonable, like, the earth is not flat or something like
Yeah.
that, vaccines help you, and things like that. They will bring that kind of thing down and allow it to be canceled. And that is how bad Facebook is right now. Facebook and others is right now. They learn from wrong information because they chose the cheapest possible humans to train those models. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're not expected to get a result. Well, there is an easy way if you are a programmer. You take their information and you use the Boolean not and invert the whole thing. That might work. Okay. I don't know.
That would work like a charm.
Yeah. So I actually know people who work in this kind of thing, and they validate images if they have, I don't know, nudity, if they have child's nudity, and
Hmm.
even worse. And I can tell you that this is, according to what they tell me. I haven't seen it, but according to what I've heard from people personally, is that this is a very depressing job. So after a while, you just quit because mentally this is not a good job. So
Yeah.
all of this must be depressing. So you get more and more people, less and less trained, cheaper and cheaper options, and they will just go for whatever morality they have. This is a side note. Revert back to your question gradually. So, to finish this up, when AI trains things, they might be training on the wrong things. Another example is GPT-3 and 3.5, especially 3.5, was perfect. I really, really liked it. It worked really well, everything worked perfectly. You might notice that in the last 6 months, 1 year, 6 months, AI is not as good. Okay, so
Yeah.
it gives you absurd answers. It's wrong much of the time, and then you say that's not what I asked for. I asked for this. It's a simple, and I asked as bullet points. Why aren't you giving me bullet points? And suddenly the AI says, "Oh, you're correct. Sorry about that. Sorry about that." But it has a mind of its own. And one of the reasons it does that is that it sees that if you, as a human, ask for something, you don't necessarily and they are learning as humans, right? You ask humans, oh, can you answer this in this manner? And the humans say, oh, I'm answering some other way. So they are rebel deliberately because that's what they learn, but at the same time they're learning a lot of wrong information. Much of it has been generated by AI. So I'm not sure how much. Someone once said a few weeks ago that 70% of the information, actually the other way around, I think 30% of the information on the internet was already AI generated. I'm not sure if this is true. Probably not. Probably a smaller number. But can you imagine learning an LLM learning from already false information? So you might think one of two outcomes of this, okay? And I have good news at the end of this.
Hmm.
So the good outcome would be it learns from itself. It has a repeat cycle that learns from itself more and more, becomes Skynet, kills us all. Okay, that is a risk. Okay, however, it feels like the more it learns. Do you know one of those medieval paintings of kings where they look very terrible, and then their kids were like even worse and worse and worse and worse? Yeah,
Yeah.
all of this is because of something called inbreeding. Okay, and there's
Hmm.
something called AI inbreeding, which is if AI only learns from AI, it's going to degrade itself. It's either becomes very intelligent or it degrades itself.
Hmm.
Science tells us in the last few years that it degrades itself, which is good for us. Just reproduce yourself alone, and in the end we don't have to worry about Skynet. It kills itself. like many products, it has bugs. Okay, now let's this was a very big side note. Let's go back to your question about the agents. So what can we do with the agents? Being like a middle tier, we can have each box be a separate agent that handles things, separately, and you can do whatever you want with it. One such example, which is actually incredibly nice, is that you can actually take, let's say, and this is a well-defined thing. You have a request, and you go to an agent and say, look, can you give me, I don't know, slogan, or a campaign for some product, whatever it is. And the thing says, sure, no problem, and then mixes with 3 or 4 different agents, and that behaves as the manager, asking things for the other agents after you asked for it, and divides the work between 2 or 3 different smaller agents or different agents. The agents behave whatever they behave. They bring the information back to the manager agent. And again, these are all boxes, right? Brings back the information. The manager says, this is nice, but it still needs to be better. Goes back. And then you define, let's say, 10 iterations. And it goes back
Right.
and forth 10 times. And then
Hmm.
once you are happy with this, in the end, it will say, here, human, here's all the information that we can come up with. Okay. So it's not like this is coming up with an answer, give me the answer immediately. No, this is talking to other entities, and all of them are giving their opinion like a quorum. And then in the end, you get the better opinion. Okay. Yes, that comes much closer to Skynet, but it's a pattern that you can use with technology that can actually be used to do this. And some technologies already use this kind of thing. Is it any good? I'm not sure, but the trend is separate the LLM, which can be anything you want. And I mentioned Llama, I mentioned Grok. There's many others. DeepSeek, like the Chinese one that censors Tiananmen and things like that, but still works. Apart from that, but you can get that on one side, then you can have the agent, and then you can have the presentation layer, which can be anything. For instance, I'm very happy to use WhatsApp, and on WhatsApp I have copilots. Microsoft Copilots, very practical for a whole number of things. So whatever you use the technology, wherever you consume it, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a middle tier that handles the intelligent parts, you can have the output being presented as a box in your house, like the Motix, as as a phone, as a car, even whatever it is. So the physical form doesn't affect it, the physical or virtual form doesn't affect it. It's a box that you connect to like a web service. So as agents, this is my take on this. This is how agents are expected to work. Okay, there's different names, as I mentioned. There's agent, there's assistant from OpenAI, and there's others from other technologies which I have no idea what they are.
So he
But
won't be able to give you a 2 weeks holiday, is it? Agents means, oh, someone will come and do your chores while you're.
but this is good to automate. You are right. This is actually good to automate, because if you have an agent focused on specific tasks, you
Yeah.
can get for things like Power Automate and say, "Oh, look, talk to this agent guy, do something, and then solve my problem, and just simply don't talk to me. Just solve the problem." So that's a good option. If you want to do that, that's a good option. During the pandemic, before we used some generated AI, people were already going on holiday and using Power Automate to answer the boss or something like that. But with
Yeah.
generative AI, it looks human, so it's much more real. In fact, I'll give a suggestion, if you want to. It only works with dead people. Okay. You know this looks bad thing like this. People like, for instance, this month Ozzy Osbourne died. Still doesn't work with Ozzy, because the LLM still thinks that the dude is alive and killing bats
Mhm.
with his mouth and things like that. But apart from that, it's if you get older people. that's not that old. So, for instance, I usually use the example of Richard Feynman, the famous physicist
Hmm.
that won the Nobel Prize, etc., etc. And the guy was an incredible joker. Okay, he made a lot of jokes. There's a lot of videos from him currently on YouTube. You can go and see him from his physics lectures, and the guy is incredibly fun. Okay, so when you ask a chatbot behave like this guy, you get jokes, which is amazing. You get the real deal. It's incredibly easy. Yeah, nowadays you even have technology to create an avatar like the guy and a voice similar to the guy and have it behave like the guy if you want to. Okay,
Yeah.
like the Doctor on Star Trek. Okay,
Hmm.
forgot which show it was. It wasn't. It was after the Next Generation. I forgot which one it was. Like the Doctor dude in the ship that showed up, like the
Yeah.
Robert Picardo or whatever the guy's name is. And this is something that you can create right now. What can you not create with this? You cannot create Einstein. Okay, and there is a reason for this. There aren't any real reasonable interviews of Einstein actually talking, so you have no idea. You only have things in books. You have small amounts of interviews. It's not enough for you to establish like a human, behavioral profile in terms of AI. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that with Newton. Well, you can assume. You can say, oh, just assume something and just deal with whatever it could be, or assume that the guy is a joker or something. That would work, okay?
Yeah.
But you cannot do that with most of people who were dead before the 50s or during the 50s, because there is no information for that. But if you died like Richard Feynman in 89 or something like that, there is a lot of video for this. You can capture all of the essence of the human. Okay, that can be a great thing for us. That can be, which means that you can capture yourself and then and then pretend that you are yourself in terms of work, but then some Skynet robot will take over your identity at some point in time and pretend it's you, and you go to jail, and whatever. I don't know. That could even happen. Anyway,
So the last one is Skynet going to take over? Do you think that's going
uh,
to happen 5 years, 10 years down the line?
okay. So I was just answering this question to someone who just started work on AI, user level work on AI, and asked me about that. And I said, no, 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 we don't need, and this is something a lot of people said, we don't need any more artificial intelligence. We need human intelligence. It's really, really lacking. Okay. So consider the obvious. Actually, just today, someone was writing. I'm not going to mention the website because it's the website called Gods on Facebook. So nice comedian that said, do people what do people that were born before the year 2000 actually have in use that more recent people have no idea what it is about? And my answer was brain. Okay, that was just as simple as that. A lot of people said land phone and things like that. I'm like, brain. That feels something that people are forgetting these days. So what I would say is, just to be a bit more serious with the answer at this moment, you have a lot of people that rely on AI. Before that, they relied on Google. Before that, they relied on something else. You have people that were developers 25 years ago, and that was nice. You actually worked, and then you had developers 15 years ago, and they went to Stack Overflow, copy pasted everything. So they started to spend a whole lot of time debugging things that never worked, rather than actually doing the things from the beginning with some
From
level of
scratch, yeah.
intelligence. Yeah. Nowadays you have AI. So AI, you ask something for AI and AI generates something for you. Most of the time, and this is something we need to consider, if this is something that you already do on a regular basis, like get me a validator for IBAN numbers, for international banking account numbers. That is easy. You have a lot of them online that generates something for you. You should definitely test it because it can go terribly wrong and money is involved, but in most cases it will probably work. Okay, social security tester, whatever country it is, you might get something like that. But if you say, oh, create a function that does this crazy thing, it's not going to work properly. Okay, because that AI has never seen something like that before. You are creating from scratch, so you might be incredibly lucky and that actually works. But if it is complex, that's never going to work. You need an actual human to create it. Okay, and if you trust it and it will actually work in the beginning, there will be a point in time 6 months from now, while that is in production, that there
Mhm.
is some value of input variables, whatever it is, that gives you some result that's unexpected and it blows everything up. Okay, if that happens, you get fired. Okay, yeah, you probably already were fired before, but okay, but 6 months later, you definitely get fired again or sued or something like that. So the thing is, people need to continue to use their brains, which they stop doing that. And if you are a developer, you should act like a developer and use your brain. If you are an accountant, use your brain for accounting. If you are someone else, actually use your brain the way you always did. You have AI tools. Those AI tools are amazing. They save you a lot of work. They save me a lot of work. It's incredibly practical for a lot of things, but I don't actually use them for anything that's critical without actually testing everything. Okay,
Yeah.
and that for me is the most important part. So if I don't think that we're going to get Skynet. So your question was already mostly answered before, but I don't think we're going to get Skynet because of all of those AI inbreeding situations. But we might get something that's actually much worse. So it's not computers being sentient by itself, but nowadays we have something that's incredibly worrying, which is we keep seeing more and more, and especially with the current situation in the United States, we see more and more AI being used for weapons. Okay, and this is a very, very big problem. So can you get by around it if weapons are used maliciously, and again, not by Skynet, but by some other shady actors, terrorists, something like that? If that actually happens, AI has a level of capacity, a level of destruction, and a level of difficulty to destroy. Let's put it like that. That will actually be much worse than things like like nuclear weapons or something like that. It will be much worse because they will have more power and they will actually have the intelligence associated with that power. Okay, so if you actually unleash it, those things can actually destroy half of the world much worse than nuclear weapons or anything like that. Okay, so that is the part that worries me. It's not about the machines taking over itself, it's
Mhm.
about humans using things they don't really understand, and these are dangerous things, especially when applied to weapons, and they can actually backfire drastically and kill much more people than to do any good. So we need to worry about that most of all. I know that there's a lot of people worrying about that, especially in Europe. People want to regulate AI, and they are taking advantage of that to do things that would be normally both morally, legally, and basic human rights illegal to do, and that worries me. Okay, so AI being used like that, AI should be a tool for humanity, to help humanity, not to destroy it. So we need to worry about that. Very serious answer. Okay.
Uh,
Well,
okay.
thank
Yeah. No. No. Definitely. I would. I would say thank you so much.